It took one night, one message, one lie, one moment that destroyed years of love and trust. They were the kind of couple people envied. Emma and Daniel had been together for 7 years. Childhood sweethearts turned soulmates. They had weathered long-distance college years, first jobs, and the loss of parents. They knew each other's scars, habits, dreams, and still chose one another every single day, until the night of the charity gala. Emma had planned it for weeks, a black-tie fundraiser for Daniel's startup. She wanted everything to be perfect. She wore the blue dress he loved, curled her hair the way he once said made her look like a painting, and smiled through the whole evening as donors, tech elites, and friends circled them like satellites around a golden couple. It was just past midnight when the message came in. Daniel was in the restroom. Emma had his phone because hers had died, and she needed to coordinate with the driver. The screen lit up with a preview. Last night meant everything. I miss you already, kiss mark. K. At first, Emma thought it was a mistake. A spam message. A joke. But curiosity, no, suspicion, nudged her. She tapped it open. The thread went back weeks. Photos. Messages. Plans to meet while Emma was out of town on business. A night in a hotel. Promises. Lies wrapped in sweet, aching words that used to belong only to her. By the time Daniel returned, she was staring at him, shattered. You left the hotel key in the photo, she said softly, her voice far too calm. He froze. Emma, how long? She asked, eyes fixed on his. He didn't answer. That was the real answer. In the days that followed, Emma moved out of the apartment they had shared. She blocked his number, erased their photos from her social media, told her friends to stop defending him when he made a mistake, or he still loves you, because love doesn't destroy what it claims to cherish. She cried, then raged, then went quiet. What hurt most wasn't just a betrayal. It was a rewriting of every memory. The knowledge that while she was planning their future, he was sabotaging it in secret. One night, he gave in to temptation. One message exposed it all. One lie unraveled their story. One moment erased 7 years of belief in forever. Years later, when Daniel reached out with a quiet, apologetic email, Emma didn't apply. She was healed now, whole, and wise enough to know some betrayals don't get second chances. They get closure and silence. Emma read the email once. No subject line, no dramatics. Just a few lines typed like the man she once loved couldn't find the words anymore, like the guilt had finally eaten its way to the surface. I think about that night every day. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I was sorry. Truly sorry. Daniel. She stared at the screen for a moment, heart calm, not cold. The ache was gone now. It had been replaced long ago by clarity. She didn't delete the message. She didn't reply either. Instead, she stood from her desk, crossed the room, and looked out the window of her small but sunlit apartment. The city stretched below, different from the one she'd shared with Daniel, different from the life she once imagined. But it was hers now, entirely hers. There had been a time she wanted answers, closure, maybe even revenge. But with distance came a painful truth. Closure doesn't always come from the person who broke you. Sometimes it comes from choosing not to let them touch your peace again. It wasn't just a betrayal that ended their love. It was everything after. The excuses, the way he tried to minimize it, the way he cried for her forgiveness while still keeping secrets, the way he only came clean when he was caught. Trust wasn't just cracked. It was obliterated. And without trust, love becomes a ghost. 6 months after the email, Emma was at a bookstore downtown. She bumped into someone, literally, knocking over a stack of books. He laughed, helped her pick them up, and offered to buy her coffee and apology. His name was Lucas. He didn't know her past, didn't know the weight she'd carried. But he listened, asked questions with patience, not pressure. Months passed, and Emma found herself laughing again in ways she thought she'd forgotten. One night, as they sat on the floor of her apartment surrounded by takeout and music, Lucas looked at her and said, "You're the most grounded person I've ever met, like someone who learned everything the hard way and still chose to be kind." She didn't cry. Not then. But she smiled, touched by how someone could see the rebuilt version of her, and not ask about the ruins. Emma never told Lucas about the message. Never needed to, because Daniel was her past. But this quiet joy, this new, slow love, was her future. And she had fought like hell to earn it. Because sometimes it takes one night to break you, but it only takes one choice to rise again. The seasons turned. Lucas became more than just comfort. He became a presence in Emma's life that didn't demand space, but earned it gradually with patience, with good mornings and late-night walks, with forehead kisses and moments of silence that didn't feel awkward, just safe. And Emma became someone else too. She no longer flinched when her phone lit up, no longer braced herself for the betrayal that never came. She laughed louder, trusted slowly but truly. She was soft again, but this time strong beneath it. One quiet evening in October, as leaves carpeted the sidewalks, Lucas handed her a small envelope. No ring, no speeches, just a note. Inside, in his slightly messy handwriting, were the words, "I don't want to fix you. You're not broken. I just want to walk beside you wherever you're going." Emma stared at it for a long time. She didn't cry. She didn't tremble. She smiled and said yes, not to a proposal, not yet, but to the idea that life could begin again. That trust could be rebuilt not with grand gestures, but with quiet consistency. A year later, she stumbled across an old photo of her and Daniel tucked inside a forgotten notebook. It was from their 5th anniversary. She stared at it for a while. 2 smiling faces, frozen in a time before everything changed. And then gently, she placed it in a box labeled before. Not to be burned, not to be mourned, just archived. Because some stories don't need retelling. They only need release. One night, one message, one lie, one moment. Yes, it had destroyed years of love and trust, but it had also cleared the path for something better, for a love that didn't demand pain to prove itself, for a life built not on illusion, but on truth, choice, and quiet strength. And in the end, Emma wasn't a woman who'd been broken. She was a woman who rose. Spring arrived like a soft promise. Emma stood on her balcony one morning, coffee in hand, the city just beginning to stir. Inside, Lucas was humming, off-key as usual, while making breakfast. The smell of toast and fresh strawberries drifted out. She looked out at the skyline and thought about how far she'd come. There was a time when she believed love was permanent, unshakable. Then came the night that proved otherwise. But what that night didn't destroy was her ability to heal, to grow, to love again, not recklessly, but wisely. And that was the real story. Not the betrayal, not the message that broke her, but the choice she made the morning after, to rise, to rebuild, to believe again. She turned, stepped inside, and kissed Lucas on the cheek. "Toast is a little burnt," he said sheepishly. "I like it that way," she smiled, knowing she never had before. But somehow it was perfect. As they sat down together, hands brushing, eyes meeting over mismatched mugs, Emma thought, it took one moment to lose everything, but it took everything in her to find something even better. And that made all the difference.